Well, I'm not even going to go through everything the man's being accused for because I really don't want to give too much play to this brother on what he's doing. I know we have a lot of individuals in our community that it's like a civil war. What's going on with R. Kelly is putting a rift down in our community. You have people who are saying that he should be muted, he shouldn't be discussed. Then you have another side of people that are saying it's not all R. Kelly's fault. Give him a chance. Either way it goes, R. Kelly he has some problems, and my personal opinion is he needs to be locked up. However, how they went about doing it, it really makes you raise a brow to what's going on. It's one thing that this man did these horrible crimes, but at the same time, it kind of makes you think about how it's being done, which kind of makes me think about this Michael Jackson issue. Whether you love him or hate him, this thing about Michael Jackson came out of the clear blue. You have people who you haven't heard anything from, and all of a sudden they're getting up on HBO now discussing this stuff. So I kind of sat and thought about some things. And when I was younger, there was a game called Connect the Dots. When you connect the dots, you get a picture. I noticed that this thing with Michael Jackson was produced, I believe, by Harvey Weinstein as well as Oprah Winfrey. And this isn't the first time that Harvey Weinstein exposed some things about Michael Jackson. But I found it real strange that this thing with Michael Jackson is being aired around the same exact time that Harvey went to court. Because now everyone's talking about Michael Jackson now and not really discussing Harvey Weinstein. Then I look at who interviewed R. Kelly. Gayle King, right? That's Oprah's homegirl. So I'm looking like, wow, this is all a big mess. Because if you think about it, everyone's focused on R. Kelly and everyone's focused on Michael Jackson now. They're focused on how R. Kelly was acting in the interview. And of course, the man performed. He was very emotional in his interview. Of course, who wouldn't be? But everyone's talking about that aspect. Everyone's talking about Michael Jackson. But they're not really discussing the bigger picture here. Excuse me. And there are two big pictures. The first one is how you have everyone only talking about those two individuals as well as Bill Cosby, and they're not discussing other individuals that's done worse, if not the same. And then on the other side of the scope, you have people feuding on why we as black people are throwing other black people up under the bus. First things first, I'm going to be real with you. If you are doing things to harm children and you're preying on other people for the benefit of your own self-arousal, you are not my people. That's just how it is. You are not my people. However, if you are sitting in a situation and you're only focused on one group of people instead of all people, that's a problem. Because, see, the oppressor does not have to oppress you personally. The oppressor will sit back and he will sit back and make you oppress one another. And that's what we do in our community. I will sit and oppress my own brother instead of sitting back and seeing what's going on. Because you need to know all the whole facts. See, R. Kelly's not the only one out there doing it. Bill Cosby made a good point. See, now the thing about Bill Cosby is he admitted it. He said, yeah, I did it, but I wasn't the only one that did it. Let's play Connect the Dots again. Bill Cosby's homeboy was Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner ran the Playboy Mansion. All kind of stuff was going on up in that Playboy Mansion. You mean tell me you got half-naked women, if not fully naked women running around there and that's what's going on? That man was pimping out women for a long time. And you can't sit up here and tell me that Hugh Hefner was not involved in that too. Of course he was. But they're talking about lambasting Michael Jackson. But why not Hugh Hefner? So this show is dedicated to the individuals who are running around scot-free. The title of this show was R. Kelly Ain't the Only One. I have a list of individuals who are very very notorious for preying on sexuality. Corey Feldman is an actor who ran around with Corey Haim back in the 80s. Corey Feldman got on TV and started talking about all kind of issues, about how he was molested, how he was raped, how things happened to him when he was younger. And for some strange reason, no one's talking about that. This man came out a few times, but then they muted him. They told him to shut up. The cast of Saved by the Bell, a lot of stuff went on with those kids. If you go and look at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and read some of the transcripts, those kids were allowed to do a lot of sexually inappropriate things at a young age. But to go ahead and get back on focus here, Corey Feldman let us know that there was some stuff going on in Hollywood that was very inappropriate. I mean, come on. Now, we all know about the casting couch. You got to do a little something in order to get something. And when they prey on these children, that's an issue. So I pulled off a list of 10 individuals, and I'm going to go in depth about them. And then I'm going to talk about some other people that you may not have heard of that's been charged but didn't spend any jail time for real. And then we're going to look at what the issue really is. Now, number 10 on my list, of course, is R. Kelly, because people need to know what's going on. Though praised for his great voice and R&B records, R. Kelly was proven to be a sex offender. A tape was brought to legal attention with proof that R. Kelly had not only engaged in sexual acts with, but also urinated in the mouth of a 15-year-old girl. However, upon trial, the star was acquitted. Later, Kelly strikes again when he forms a relationship with pop star Aaliyah when she was only 14. And then, of course, he got busted with keeping women prisoner in the house. Now, I had a conversation with a young lady, and she made a good point. She said, so how can someone be... the situation with him keeping these girls in the house is kind of strange. And yeah, it is. However, that's the information about R. Kelly. And I don't want to dig too much into it because I don't want to dedicate my whole show to what this man's doing. It's already all on the media. And although R. Kelly is being popped for this, I'm not going to sit up here and drag this man further in the mud. It's not my job to do that. Several TV and radio personality and politicians have been fired or resigned, but the black men are the only ones being... Yes, Mr. Tyson, you are right. And I'm going to jump right into this right now. Number 9 on my list, Joel Madden. If you don't know who Joel Madden is the lead singer of the band Good Charlotte. It's like a rock band. People are aware that he used to date Hilary Duff. She's a pop star too. But what we don't know is Hilary Duff was 16 years old and he was 25. The relationship was kept off of media, but emerged when she turned 18. So they kept him quiet until she turned 18 years old. When questioned about it in an interview, she admitted to losing her virginity to the rock star when she was underage. But for some strange reason, this is cool. Number 8, Wilmer Valderrama. You know Wilmer Valderrama. He was on the show, That 70s Show. He played the foreign exchange student Fez. He also starred on a snapping show called Yo Mama, where people would sit and crack jokes on each other, your mama jokes. So, he had a taste for young stars as well. His first pursuit was with Mandy Moore, who was also an actress and a pop star. At the time, he was 20 years old, and she was only 16. Later, he moved on to a short fling with Lindsay Lohan. I remember hearing about that one. She was only 17 years old. After Lindsay, he pursued a short relationship with Demi Lovato in 2010, who was also 17. So, there it is again. You don't really hear much about that. Number 7, Sonny Bono. That's Cher's ex-husband. He was also a politician as well, too. Before they were married and performing on stage, Sonny and Cher were dating. He helped her get singing gigs, and she later dropped out of high school and moved in with Sonny as his housekeeper. What most people don't know is that Cher was only 16 at the time. So we're starting to see a trend. We're starting to see older, successful men pretty much play the whole casting couch thing. Okay, this is what I can do for you, but you got to do something for me. And I remember someone saying that it's very arrogant when people hide out in the open, and that's what they're doing. You see them in public taking pictures and everything, but no one's really saying anything about it. But for some strange reason, people are on TV running around and talking about black men, or people of color, or people who don't identify with the quote-unquote majority race. And what I'm saying right now, this show may cause me to lose a couple of friends, but I mean, right is right and wrong is wrong. I mean, you can't sit up here and tell me that race does not play a factor into this. Because last time I checked, I didn't see any of the other men mentioned on here on CBS 3 nights in a row. Next, Jerry Seinfeld. I believe Jerry Seinfeld is close to being a billionaire comedian. I mean, I don't understand why, but I mean, he's up there. Very successful comedian. He's arguably one of the most successful comedians of all time. Yeah, him and Larry David as far as money goes. Seinfeld could have almost any woman he wanted because he was paid. But the one he chose was 29 years younger than he was. She was a 17-year-old high school senior named Shoshana. He claims to have fallen in love with her, and their relationship flourished for years, after which Shoshana decided she couldn't handle the publicity. You know, when I was in high school, we had a coach. He was our athletic director. And they said he married his wife when she was 18 years old. I said, okay. I said, well, how old is he? They said, well, he's an older guy. I said, where did he meet his wife? At the high school. She was a student in the high school. So you can't tell me what nothing going on with those two. So here you are, a teacher of the school. And as soon as the girl turned 18, you marry her. See, that's some sick stuff, man. Some sick stuff. Number 5, Paul Walker. Famous for his roles in Fast and Furious, Paul Walker led a daring life. The one woman who will miss the late celebrity the most is the lady he was engaged to, Miss Jasmine Gosnell. However, was quite a bit younger. When they began dating, she was only 16 and he was 33. He claims to have known she was young, but their happy 7-year-long relationship proved that she was worth the wait. Now, I remember hearing about this shortly after Paul Walker died, briefly. It was like, if you could blink, you'd miss it. And as soon as it was done, you can't pull it. You couldn't find it. But I think, I'm sorry, people weren't talking about it for real. But it was like, in conversation, you're talking about the weather, and then, Paul Walker had an underage girlfriend, and then you're talking about the game. It was real quick. But people are still watching Fast and Furious. Y'all gonna mute that? Number 4. When I was younger, Mr. Walker, there was a TV show I used to always watch with my mom and dad. 2 of the coolest brothers. Well, one of them, Miami Vice. Man, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Tubbs. I'm telling you, man, that brother had a little S curl in his head, and a little jacket, and a little swag about him. Yeah, Philip Michael Thomas. Yeah, Philip Michael Thomas said, I want to be an EGOT. They said, what's that? Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. He's the one that coined the phrase, but didn't win not near one. So, here's the thing, though. His partner in crime literally committed a crime. Don Johnson was a dirty cop in real life because Don Johnson, he is known for being in Miami Vice, and he began seeing Melanie Griffith, who was when he was 22 years old. The young actress was only 14 at the time. She was only 14. They met when Griffin played in an extra in a movie of his in his career. And later she moved in with him when she turned 15. When she reached the age of 15, they married and divorced. I'm sorry, when she reached the age of 18, they married and they divorced each other only within 6 months. However, their love proved strong as they later remarried and had a daughter, Anastasia, who later became their acting prodigy. Man, if I would have known that back then, I wouldn't roll with that dude. I'm telling you, man, Miami Vice changed my life. See, other kids was talking about Dukes of Hazzards, sliding across the Confederate flag. I don't do that. I want to go to Miami, work with I'm telling you, that show, those cats were my heroes when I was growing up. I'm like, wow, it's Miami Vice time, and I'm sitting there, and my parents look at me like, but now this cat was up here dating people not that much older than me. You know, what's up with that? And for some strange reason, he still kept his job. Next, number 3, Chad Michael Murray. Chad Michael Murray is a star from One Tree Hill. He fell for the beauty and feminine ways of another actor from the show. It's okay to, fall in love with your coworkers. You spend more time with them anyway. Well, not, I don't do that. But I'm just saying in general, someone can understand that. However, Miss Teen USA runner-up Kenzie Dalton. At the beginning of their relationship, Chad was only 24 years old, Kenzie was 17. When she turned 18, he proposed to her only months before his divorce with Sophia Bush was finalized. Their engagement lasted 7 years before their breakup. Number 2, Karl Malone. Now, of course, I know Mrs. Walker had a comment on there. She said she's glad that I'm bringing up other people besides black folks. Now, Karl Malone, although he is black, one can argue that Karl Malone does not really identify much with black people. And that's one thing people need to understand, is that sometimes with some people, being black is a place to visit but not a place to stay. And some people actually exemplify that based on how they live their lives. Let's see. Karl Malone, once a basketball icon, this retired star impregnated 2 women at the start of his career. Miss Gloria Bell was only 13 at the time of her pregnancy while he was 20. Though he refused to acknowledge his fatherhood of the child, a paternity test made it clear that young Demetrius Bell was his son. Karl Malone, the mailman, part of one of the coldest duos with John Stockton in NBA history, who, by the way, John Stockton is probably one of the most underrated point guards. Well, he went to how many finals he went to? It was a lot. Yeah, consecutively. But anyway, yeah, and Karl Malone consecutively had sex with a 13-year-old kid and got her pregnant. So that's seriously. I remember I was watching and in no way am I trying to throw salt on somebody, but I remember I was watching the TV show Punk'd, and I remember I told someone, man, that show gonna get somebody in trouble. And if you're not familiar with Punk'd, it was pretty much Ashton Kutcher running around setting up celebrities with these crazy pranks. Well, one prank went to, it was weird. It made me feel very uncomfortable. Carmelo Anthony and his friends were in a hotel room with a girl, and Carmelo was sitting back, getting real comfortable. They was talking about doing some things, and all of a sudden the police busted up in there and said the girl was underage. And I'm like, ooh, you don't play like that. But the thing was, the girl did look young, and they was looking like they didn't care. So man, y'all gotta be careful out there. Number 1 on our list is the king. Not the king of pop, but the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. When you're the king of rock and roll, needless to say, you get your pick of the litter. You can get any queen you want. But for Elvis, his pick was a young Miss Priscilla. When the two met, Elvis was quoted saying, "She was just a baby." At 14 years of age, she really was a baby. He was 24. She later moved in with him as she finished high school, and he married her when she was 21. 9 months later, out popped Princess of Rock and Roll, Lisa Marie Presley, who is the ex-wife of Michael Jackson. So, this is what gets me. And Forrest, Ms. Tyson, you made a good point. You said these actors kept their jobs because the studio heads were doing the same thing. Yes, it's a boys club. It's nasty. Now, I'm going to tell you something else, too. You got your boy Great Balls of Fire, married an underage girl. It was his cousin. But they still rock him. Who else? This is another one, too. There's a video circulating around with Demi Moore. I want you, if you're married or got a significant other, I want you to think about how you passionately kiss your significant other or your spouse. Just think about it. I give you a little time to think about that because it was probably good to you. Yeah. That's how Demi Moore kissed that little boy. Not once, but multiple times on video. I'm like, whoa. But see, here's the thing, though. Ow, funny bone. My funny bone. Here's the thing that's really strange. Out of the majority of these situations, oh yeah, Woody Harrelson. I'm sorry, Woody Allen. Woody Allen married his own stepdaughter. He sure did. Now, here's the thing. Underage stepdaughter. Here's the thing. Out of the majority of these situations, the video that I saw with Demi Moore tripped me out because the boy's parents were in the video. The parents. A lot of these parents are the main problems. I remember, I believe it was Damon Wayans or Chris Rock. They talked about when they would leave comedy shows, men would come up to them and say, "Here's my daughter. Have sex with them." And I'm like, does that really go on? People just give their daughters to them like that? And it reminded me of the movie Color Purple, and it also reminded me of how certain kingdoms would give their young daughters to a warrior or to a royalty of another kingdom in order to as a status thing. And we got people doing that with kids right now. These parents are sitting up here pimping their kids out to celebrities. I mean, I'll be real with you. R. Kelly was foul. He was wrong. But guess what? The mamas and daddies had to sign off on that stuff. Brooke Shields running around here with naked pictures. Guess who signed off on it? Her mama. Her mother said that stuff was okay. There was another movie with Kevin Spacey, who's on my list for after the hour. It was called American Beauty, the one with the rose petals. There was a scene where the daughter took her shirt off and was topless in the movie. She was underage. Her parents signed off on that for her to be nude underage. There was another magazine, Playboy, had an underage girl. Well, more than one, but there was one that was in particular. I think there was one, like 10 years old or something like that. I mean, and Mr. Tyson made a good point. They keeping their jobs. Playboy is still in circulation. Woody Allen is still a top director. Paul Walker, his shows, Fast and the Furious, is still going on. Maybe that's why they silently went on to the Hobbs and the Rock and Shaw doing their little thing on the side to kind of filter him out. See, they real quiet about theirs. Real quiet. We're going to sit and talk about it briefly. But let it be a minority or a person of color, it's a problem. Well, I mean, it's a problem, but it's made bigger than what they're doing. But I got some other stuff that I'm going to read to you all, and it's going to really make you upset. I'm going to take a very brief break, and I'm going to come back with some more information that is going to really make you think about how things are being done in society. So we're going to pay some bills. I'm going to go, as my brother from the Music and More Foundation, Terrence Williams, said, I've been drinking some Gatorade, so I got to go and, get myself comfortable. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. This is Tyrone Gethers Jr., your host of the Source of Inkwell, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's global community radio station. You can listen to this broadcast two ways, KUAW.org or on the TuneIn app. You can also view and listen at the same time on KUAW-LPFM 98.5 on Facebook or on YouTube. Type in KUAW. You can also call 816-599-6893. I was so excited to get back in here after the break. We have a little casualty. I tore my shirt. So if there's anyone that's a tailor out there, hit me up. See, maybe you can fix my shirt. I'm like I've been out fighting or something. Okay. This broadcast is to discuss other individuals who are who did crimes against children who are sexual deviants, because we were trained that R. Kelly and Bill Cosby and Michael Jackson are the only ones. But the first half of my show showed a whole plethora of individuals. Now, the issue that we're having here is that for some strange reason, I just got through naming 9 other individuals besides R. Kelly, and they weren't on CBS for 3 days in a row. They weren't on HBO out of the clear blue. No one's talking about muting them or exhuming their bodies and doing DNA tests or anything like that. No. We're only focused on the people of color. I also have another list. 35 plus famous people charged with sex crimes. Of course, number one on the list is Bill Cosby. Also, Mike Tyson's on here too. But I'm going to read some people who you all might not even know actually did some things, and I'm going to explain to you how it was resolved as well too. All right, on my list here I have John Travolta. In 2009, a cruise ship worker claimed that John Travolta sexually assaulted him. The man says that Travolta exposed himself during a neck massage and later offered the man $12,000 to keep quiet. Travolta denies the allegations. Now, also, one thing we got to look at too, we think that it's just men that's out here preying on people. I mentioned in the first half of the hour that Demi Moore had a video out when she was kissing on some little boy. Britney Spears. In 2012, Britney Spears was accused of sexual harassment by a former bodyguard, Fernando Flores. He claimed the pop star flashed him and invited him into her bedroom while she was nude. I mean, it can go both ways. It's not just men on women. It can be women on men too. And in the situation with John Travolta, man on man, it's no one's exempt. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger. In 2009, I'm still trying to figure out this one. In 2009, civil lawsuit was filed when a woman accused Ben of sexually assaulting her in a hotel room. In 2010, it was revealed that the NFL player was also being investigated for another instance of sexual assault. Criminal charges were yet not filed. You had 2 people come out and say they did something to you. Did something to him. And then I heard his daddy was like that too. But the Chiefs player, he got into a little spat. Oh, he was done. But this dude out here doing all kind of nasty stuff to women, sexually assaulting women. Double accounts. And he still got his job. Let's see. Here's one. Gary Glitter. Musician Gary Glitter was convicted of child pornography in 1999 and child molestation in 2006. Okay, so he was convicted, but he only was sentenced to 3 years in prison. 3 years. It's a darn shame that you can do something to an animal and get more time than when you do something to a child. We live in a very, very twisted society. Sean Penn. In 1988, Sean Penn was charged with domestic violence for an incident involving his then-wife Madonna. Allegedly, Penn tied Madonna to a chair and gagged her before leaving the house to get alcohol. When he returned, he is rumored to have only untied the singer when she agreed to perform sexual acts. Now, of course, their marriage is over with, but kind of makes you think about that. And yes, you can be married and still be, charged for rape. Your sexual assault, sure can, and that's exactly what that was. Brad Pitt charged with indecent exposure in 1988 for an incident in which the Fight Club actor allegedly mooned drivers on the Pacific Coast Highway in California. This next one, another person from childhood, David Copperfield, the richest magician out there. Looks like he tried to make this sex charge disappear too. Because in 2007, magician David Copperfield was accused of sexually assaulting a woman. After a grand jury investigation, officials determined that there was not enough valid evidence to press charges against Copperfield. Funny how certain things disappear, right? Roman Polanski. Director Roman Polanski was charged with statutory rape, sodomy, and child molestation after he had consensual sexual relations with a 13-year-old girl. How can you have consensual relations with a 13-year-old? Most of the charges were dropped, and Polanski pled guilty to the statutory rape. It says here that the sentence, they cut it off, but what gets me is, yeah, he did. He said all that stuff. He did all that, and they dropped most of the charges. Al Gore, former vice president. Al Gore. In 2006, Al Gore was accused of making unwanted sexual advances towards a female masseuse. In 2010, the former president was cleared of any wrongdoing. Speaking of former presidents, Forrest Tyson made a good comment. See, and can I talk about black people briefly? Because I really don't like airing our dirty business out. But we sometimes are just ridiculous when it comes to things. We're so quick to jump on a bandwagon. I was talking to T-Baby earlier, and I said chameleons don't know their own color. Therefore, they try to blend in with other backgrounds. And we have some people to do that. George H.W. Bush, the daddy, accused of patting 7 women below the waist while posing for photos with them in recent years. Well after he left office, the 93-year-old Republican has issued repeated apologies through a spokesperson to anyone he has offended, with the spokesperson noting that the former president uses a wheelchair and that his arm sinks below people's waist when they take photos with him. I mean, you still apologize for it. I was always told if you apologize for something, you're admitting the guilt. Yeah, let me go ahead and jump back over here. I know, hey, some folk probably mad talking about you destroying our heroes. Well, you destroy mine. My thing is, people are human. Human beings do stupid stuff. And my thing is, if you're going to sit up here and drag someone through the mud and try to cut off their show and take away money from their kids, do everybody like that. Not just certain ones. That's ridiculous, man. I mean, and you can't sit up here and tell me racism don't exist. Tell me. Get on here right now on this news feed and tell me racism don't exist. Tyrone, you tripping. And I sit up here and say, okay, Bill Cosby, Hugh Hefner. That's simple. Michael Jackson, Elvis. Elvis Museum's still open. They ain't talking about mutant Elvis. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not sitting up here saying that it's a possibility that they not, that they guilty. If they wrong, they wrong. But I mean, you can't sit up here and have levels of this stuff. You got folk that far worse. You got Roman Polanski talking about he had consensual sex with a 13-year-old. I don't understand that. But yet and still, you want to sit up here and put people on TV and just blast it. And then we allow that crap to happen. We up here sharing the videos, teasing this man. This man's sitting up here hurting. I don't care if he did it or not. He's, hey, you sharing that mess, but you're not sharing everything else. Man, y'all better quit being tricked by the enemy. Y'all better quit. You sitting up here causing war in your own camp from somebody on the outside. Next one. Marilyn Manson, Mr. Beautiful People. Marilyn Manson was charged with indecent exposure in 1994 and was charged with sexual misconduct in 2001 by a male security officer. The charges were later reduced to disorderly conduct, and Manson paid a fine of $4,000. I mean, come on. They getting slaps on the wrist. Oscar Wilde, writer. He was convicted of sodomy and indecent acts in 1895. Spent 2 years in prison, but his books are still on the shelves. He up here raping folk, and books are still on the shelves. Let's see, and then we get me. You got black people on here: Mike Tyson, Tupac, Kobe, Nelly. Oh man, they lighten them up. But then you got folk like Anthony Kiedis, who just performed at the Super Bowl this year, this year. Red Hot Chili Peppers singer Anthony Kiedis. My mama said, "Who are those boys? They horrible." Anthony Kiedis was charged with indecent exposure and sexual battery after performing at a concert in '89. He paid a fine. And the exposure charge. I'm sorry, I got distracted. He paid a fine for the indecent exposure charge and appealed the sexual battery charge. How is that possible? It's all kind of loopholes, man. Oh, yes, wrong and right should not be judged by the color of one's skin. This is America, spelled with 3 Ks. Can't sit up here and tell me that. There now, you got money and you got actual complexion that determine whether or not you stay in jail. But Bill Cosby showed us that Bill Cosby is probably richer than most of the people on this list, and he's being 80 some odd years old in general population in prison. We sit up here and we make fun of that. But you don't make fun of them other folks. Well, man, y'all better wake up. Being selective with who sins. That's y'all better quit. Pee Wee Herman, arrested on indecent exposure while he was in an adult movie theater. And in 2003, he was charged with child porn, but the charge was later reduced to obscenity. This man was charged with child porn, and his show is still on the air. The Pee Wee Herman show. You can still buy DVDs of that. Child porn. Man, look, you had me start. T.J. Miller. He's the if you're familiar with T.J. Miller, he was if you seen Deadpool 1 or 2, T.J. Miller is the friend Weasel, the one that runs the bar. T.J. Miller in December 2017, an anonymous woman accused comedian T.J. Miller of sexually assaulting her and choking her when they were in college. She said they had at least 2 violent encounters, and though she eventually reported the incidents to campus police, the matter was never resolved. Miller denies the claims. Errol Flynn. He was a flamboyant swashbuckler in the 1920s. Actor Errol Flynn was charged with statutory rape in 1942. He was found not guilty, but the publicity negatively impacted his film. The publicity negatively impacted his film career. See, we're taught that. I'm sorry. I'll jump to that in a minute about what we're being taught to do. This next one popped up. Jeffrey Jones. If you don't know who Jeffrey Jones is, Jeffrey Jones played the principal on Ferris Bueller. Jeffrey Jones pled no contest to charges of child pornography. However, he was sentenced to 5 years probation and is a registered sex offender. And he got busted later for not registering, but he's still out in the streets. You got folk that admitted to having sex with kids and doing sexual stuff with kids, or doing sexually inappropriate things to women or men, and they still got their jobs. Shoot. Yep, Terrence, I am digging deep. I got to, man. Got to. Oh, grab him. Yep. Donald Trump. I don't care if you're a Trump fan. See, let's talk about this real quick. If you vote for somebody, that's fine. If you support somebody, that's fine. But when they do wrong, don't sit up here and say that they're not doing wrong if the evidence is right there. You know, these people with President Trump. Oh, he didn't do that. He didn't. But he just got through paying off a porn star. You know, I mean, stop sitting up here and trying to erase someone's wrongdoing to elevate them above someone else. Man, he wrong like everybody else. Mr. Tyson, you said Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, it's funny you say that because in my middle school, Bingham Middle, may it rest in peace because they tore it down, Anita Hill's brother was one of the teachers in our school building. And shortly when this came out, he was still teaching in our building. And he was very upset with what happened with his sister. Now, see, Clarence Thomas running that boys club, too. Like I said, chameleons, right? Blending into your background. Think about that one. Nick Carter, Backstreet Boys singer Nick Carter, was accused of rape November 2017 by Dream member Melissa Schumann. She says the assault happened in 2002 and that she didn't press charges at the time because she was afraid of the potential impact on her career. She filed a police report in 2018. Man, I'm taking them all down, man. Seal. I was a big Seal fan. Seal came out there, black as midnight, and was singing, and white folks loved him. Oh, yeah. You know, black folks was like, man, he tripping. But then all of a sudden, they was like, you know what, he all right. You know, Seal, he was, yeah. However, Seal was accused of sexual misconduct by actress Tracy Brazil in January 2018. The incident reportedly took place in fall of 2016 when Brazil, who was then Seal's neighbor, said she went to his house to retrieve a borrowed salad spinner. She says the singer lunged at her and groped her while making cruel remarks about her outfit. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is investigating Seal for sexual battery. He denies allegations. Timothy Heller accused fellow musician Melanie Martinez of rape on Twitter. Martinez claimed Heller never said no to what we chose to do together. Wow, so we got a woman raping a man too. Marv Albert was charged with forcible sodomy. Note, forcible sodomy. That's rape. And battery in 1997. He pled guilty to the assault charge and was given a 12-month suspended sentence. Man, you sitting up here raping folk and you got a 12-month suspended sentence? Man, hey, I'm bringing it all out today. Like I said, I'm not supporting R. Kelly. No. I ain't supporting Bill. Well, you know, I'm not supporting the wrong that they did. No, of course not. I'm just saying y'all need to get everybody else like y'all getting them. Andy Dick. Here we go. President Donald Trump has condemned some of the accused, been more muted about others, and found himself again being asked about sexual harassment and misconduct allegations leveled against him during last year's presidential campaign. He says they're fake. I mean, yes, okay. James Franco. In interviews with Los Angeles Times, 5 women accused James Franco of behavior they found inappropriate. Chef Mario Batali stepped down from daily operations at his restaurant empire following reports of sexual misconduct over a period of at least 20 years. See, some people think that if you just step down or quietly do this, no, you did it. You did the same thing they did, but yet you still get to go on about your little life. It's all about the who and the who's. Richard Dreyfuss. One woman alleges sexual harassment. He denies the allegation. Dustin Hoffman, accused by women of sexual harassment when she was 17. He has apologized for the behavior. Let's see, I got Nick Carter. Louis C.K., accused by 5 women of sexual misconduct. He planned a release of the film I Love You Daddy. It was halted. Netflix said, no, we're not going to fool with that. He says the allegations are true and has apologized. Now, connect the dots. Louis C.K. was a writer for Chris Rock. Steven Seagal, accused by 2 women of rape, but yet and still, he's not in jail. He denies the allegations. Tom Sizemore, accused of groping an 11-year-old actress in 2003. I remember hearing about this. Utah prosecutors declined to file charges, citing witness and evidence problems. He denies the allegation. Brett Ratner, accused by at least 6 women of sexual harassment. Playboy shell projects with Ratner, and Ratner stepped away from Warner Brothers related activities. He denies the allegations. Jeremy Piven, accused by 3 women of sexual misconduct. He denies the allegations. Actor George Takei from Star Trek. One man alleges sexual assault. He denies the allegations. This one made me feel real uncomfortable. Producer Chris Savino, accused of harassing up to 12 women, fired from Nickelodeon. That's a kids network. He has apologized for his behavior. I'm just curious. If R. Kelly or Bill Cosby or what if Michael Jackson, if they apologize for their behavior, will they be exonerated too? Okay, media and publishing. Oh man. T-Baby earlier on Truth Be Told said that Bill Cosby was shot by NBC. That's the rumor, that he was shot by NBC and they got him. But check this out. PBS and CBS host Charlie Rose, accused by several women of unwanted sexual advances, groping and grabbing on women, walking naked in front of them, or making lewd phone calls. He has apologized for the behavior, but has questioned the accuracy. If you question the accuracy, why apologize for it? You know you was wrong. Amazon executive Roy Price, accused by one woman of sexual harassment. He resigned from Amazon. Billboard magazine executive Stephen Blackwell, accused of sexual harassment by one woman. He has resigned from the magazine. Harvey Weinstein, accused by dozens of women of sexual harassment, sexual assaults, including rape. Fired by the Weinstein Company, your own company, and expelled from various professional guilds. Under investigation by police departments in New York, London, Beverly Hills, and Los Angeles. Weinstein denies all allegations of non-consensual sex, but he has apologized for causing a lot of pain with the way I behaved with colleagues in the past. He admitted it, and he's still out and about. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic to my sister, Miss Lene. I'm going to go ahead and say this. We are programmed to do whatever the oppressor says. And the oppressor likes to use the media to get us and trick us. Black people, I don't like airing our dirty business out. However, I find it real strange that sometimes we seem to be the only race that go out there and we take the bait and we like to run our people in the ground. Now, note, I'm not saying that R. Kelly should be exonerated. I'm not saying that. He should be locked up like everybody else. Note the key word, locked up like everyone else. R. Kelly had a special on TV 3 nights in a row. Michael Jackson, not only are they digging up his past, they also want to dig him up. And for some strange reason, HBO is airing the mess out of this. We got to stop, people. We got to start holding people accountable for what they do. See, there's a boys club out here, a good old boy network where you can do whatever you want to do, but keep your mouth shut. No, I got documented evidence. And I got some hearsay, but documented evidence by the actual accuser of saying, yeah, I did this. But they're not in jail. Or if they are in jail, they got a slap on the wrist. Or if they are in jail, they're still getting publicity. If you're going to sit up here and do some like that, do all of them like that. And that's the problem. Because see, for some strange reason, when it comes to people of color, we got a bad habit of nailing them to a cross. But when you got white folks out here doing stuff, or people who are associated with the majority, it's different. And then you sit up here and say that segregation don't exist. You are segregated people when it comes to laws. You can't sit up here and admit that you had sex with a 13-year-old and you still got your job or you still get royalties. Now, I'll admit, you're going to mute R. Kelly. I got stacks of individuals who need to be muted. If you're going to sit up here and dig up Michael Jackson, dig up Elvis too. They in the same family. Oh yeah, Michael married his daughter. Dig them all up. Dig them all up. You can't sit up here and just talk about one. And you know, I'll be real with you. I am kind of skeptical about the whole Michael Jackson thing. But my thing is, we got to stop sitting up here and sharing it in the light of people. Because if you're gonna sit up here and share one person's video, share all of them. It's not just one. We got a whole system of individuals. And also, parents, stop giving up your children to predators, to sexual predators. The fact that you're giving up your children to sexual predators, you just as bad. On this R. Kelly special, it exposed something. He ain't the only one, but you got parents that are just as bad. See, you got people that sit up here and sell their own kids for a piece of money. And that's wrong. If you pimping out your own kids, you worse than the R. Kellys and the Elvises. You worse. And you deserve a fate worse than them. But I'm not the judge. Children are precious. They need to be protected. And it's a shame that the first line of defense and their protection, their parents, aren't doing their jobs. That's something to think about. If you get one, get all of them. I'm Tyrone Gethers Jr. This is the source of the Inkwell, and the Inkwell education overflows. And when it overflows, it spreads like ink. And like ink, it's permanent. Let it stick. God bless. See you next week.